Coming to a YouTube channel near you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Alethea Jacob's Spiritual Street Talk. Coming at you right now from the UK and from, where are you, Alethea?
Mexico. Hola, amigos, amigas. Buenas noches. It's nighttime here, and even more nighttime where you are, Inbaal. But
Yeah,
I am in Puerto Vallarta area of Mexico, and I'm in a resort. And the hotel that I'm staying in is called the Grand Bliss. And I thought, well, that's really a beautiful name for a hotel and the attitude we should cultivate in our life, that feeling of bliss. I said, I can't wait to do my show from here. So hi, everybody.
Absolutely. It's not a subtle sign that the universe is on your side with a name like that.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a really long travel to get here, of course. So like these days, getting anywhere isn't easy. It seems, always delays at the airports and all the hassles. But once you're finally at your destination, it's like, I can kind of get in that vacay mode. And y'all, right behind me, it looks really bright light. That's because it's the sun's starting to set. But if the sun goes down and that light starts to modulate enough, I'll open up the curtains and you'll see this beautiful seascape behind me and the ocean and whatnot. I can hear the waves at night and see them. It's just stunningly beautiful. But right now it's just too bright, so it was just washing everything out. So I had to close the curtains. So you just got me for now, but I don't have to do, right? You're coming for me anyway, not for the scenery, right? One time I did the show from a closet, for God's sake. So this is a much better step up. That's where we're at.
So then it was very Harry Potter, and now it's very Harry Potter, all grown up.
Exactly. How's your week been, Inbaal? What's new and happening for you?
I did the thing that I told you I was going to do. So on Thursday, I got up, did the whole face, sat in front of my laptop and filmed an entire mini course about manifesting. It was such a focus. I have my moon in Sagittarius, so it has to either happen right now or never. Either right now or absolutely never. There's no in between. So I just sort of had it in my mind that it's going to happen. And then it did happen. And then I uploaded it immediately the next day. But it absolutely took over the entire day. So I didn't exercise that day. I didn't shower. Don't tell anyone.
Oh, yeah.
but now it's done. Now it's done. So I'm very curious out there, because you're so hugely empathic and you pick up on energies wherever you are. What is it like when you travel? Is it overjoyous or overwhelming? I'd love to know.
Yeah. So, I consider myself in some ways like this energetic sponge, where I gather pieces of the energy and information in the places where I am. So in this particular place, it used to be all Mayan jungle, all the way up to the edge of the ocean. And then they cleared part of the jungle to put the different resort buildings in, and you ride through the jungle, and you can actually feel a lot of the magic. I guess because I've been working with the energy for so long, and nothing really ever overwhelms me. I know how to regulate it or modulate it. And I can basically say, nope, that's enough. Or, I set up the filters, whatever's useful I can bring in, but I don't have to get overwhelmed by anything else. And most of the time, like this is a trip. It's not a work trip. This was a pleasure trip. And so my predominant feeling is just gratitude. And before I came here, I studied, I took out a subscription on Babbel. And I've been doing 15 to 20 minutes a day for 3 months to learn some Spanish, because I wanted to be respectful and at least try to communicate as much as possible in the native language with the people, instead of trying to just be the ugly American and force them to try to, use their Spanglish and my, to understand my English. So that's been really fun. And when you talk about gratitude, the response that the locals have, that I'm making an effort, that I'm trying to communicate to them in their language, it was so well received. You know, it's like their whole face lights up and they're like, oh, muy bien, you know, oh, your Spanish is so good. And I'm like, you are way too kind, because I know it's not good, but it's, you know, it's passable for basic sentences and, you know, communicating what I might want or need. But it really got me thinking about how we metaphysically go through life. And isn't it important for us to have that openness, that willingness to communicate with people where they're at? And as mediums, right, we're communicating and opening to listen to the channels that need to come through us, however they're able to come through us, right? And that sense of love and gratitude and that open heart makes the process so much more possible, easy, joyful, and I think just better overall. And I thought, wow, how amazing would the whole world be if we all just had that as not just a mantra or a way of being when we travel to a foreign country, but how about when we're interacting with our neighbors who might be of a different political, ethnic, religious background, right? What if we that extra mile to say, I want to understand your culture. I want to be able to communicate in a language that we both understand. And I think just that willingness would shift things so far. You know, so besides us shining our light, which I implore us all to do each week, and, you know, make it a point to be a positive impact on the world around us, I think if we have that, it goes beyond tolerance, because tolerance implies like, I don't like you, but I'm putting up with you. It goes beyond tolerance.
It's such an awful word, actually.
Yes. Isn't it? Yeah. And people use it like, oh yeah, you know, we should have tolerance. I'm like, no, we should have brotherly and sisterly love.
I am willing to tolerate you. From here, from the top of my ivory tower, please feel my tolerance and be grateful for it while you're at it. No.
Exactly. And one of the interesting things, I traveled with a friend of mine that I've known for about 40 years. And this is the first time we're ever taking a trip together. So this is just lovely. And we were talking a lot about meditation and spirituality. And she shared with me, and she's 76 years old. And she's very wise. And she's one of my go-to people. Like if I need a little counseling, or like, okay, help me get my head on straight, you know, or help me look at this from other perspectives. What am I missing? Right. So she's one of my go-to people. So we were talking about things, and she gave me her little 4-point advice that she gives to anybody who's trying to meditate or become more spiritual in their life. And I'm like, I'm going to use this tonight on the show. So I want to share with you my friend Ashley's 4 points towards enlightenment. Let's just call it that way. So the first thing she says is show up, right? Make the time every day to, or however often you're willing to or wanting to, make that time, reserve that time, show up, right? So you have that time on your calendar. This is your time to communicate with spirit, with your higher self, to de-stress, whatever purpose you have in mind, just show up for that meditation or that time for you. And then she says, sit down. So sit down, and whatever that means, sit in a chair that's comfortable, sit in a yoga position if you feel so inclined, lay on a bed, just get yourself into a nice, relaxed, and open, receptive posture. Then breathe. And I know breathing, like how often do we not pay attention to our breathing, right? You know, but our breathing controls so many of our autonomic systems. It tells our body whether we should be fearful or whether we're loving or joyful. You know, our breath is a key to an awful lot. So taking those nice, deep, conscious breaths, and, you know, people like in hypnosis, we wind up telling people, focus on your breath. Pay attention to your breath. You can breathe deeply or not, but just pay attention. Maybe count your breaths. Hold your breath for a certain number of seconds. Whatever mechanism really works for you, work with your breath. And then the last thing she says is don't get on the bus. What she means by that is don't allow your mind to start taking you places and distractions to take you away from being centered in that moment. And so it was like, oh, that is like, how simple is that? Show up, sit down, breathe, and don't get on the bus. I'm like, okay, Ashley's keys to enlightenment, right? So I'm sharing them with you tonight. So it was just so simple. And I thought, sometimes it takes the wisdom of somebody that's been on this planet for almost 8 decades to really just break it down to the nuts and bolts of what's the simplest way we can look at it. Because I think too many people try to make meditation or spiritual practice or expanded consciousness some really hard process that takes forever.
Yes.
Right. And it doesn't have to be complicated at all. It should be very simple, right? It can be anywhere.
It's probably not easy for everybody, but it also doesn't need, if a guide is making it feel more complicated, then it's probably not the guide for you. If somebody's guiding you down a path, it needs to feel simpler.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to definitely share that because, a big part of my message to our listeners is to demystify things that other people try to make them feel like, oh, this is so special or so difficult. It's like, no, you know what? If you break everything down to easy, logical steps and you get people to start to experiment and be curious and try for themselves, you'll find the things that work absolutely best for you. And then you'll find that whenever you need it, you can switch it on instantly. Whether that is just relaxing yourself and getting back into a mode where you feel like you are your true, authentic self. You are in alignment with your soul's purpose. You are able to just function in the day with a sense of peace and love and joy versus getting dragged into the drama, trauma, crazy stuff that a lot of times is spinning around us, right? So, the more that we make it simple and the more that, okay. Oh, okay. There's my website. Hello. Wow. Is that complicated? Wow. Okay. Hopefully it's not that bad. Pleasure. When you take that name for a song, go for it.
That was such a real life example. So Twisted was doing a nice thing and they grabbed your website, but it must be like a cut paste. And the website address must have decided to give all the different letters and numbers afterwards. Whereas if you were to just type aletheajacob.com, it would get to the exact same place. And I think that really demonstrated exactly what you said, that it's the same. If you make it easy and if you make it complicated, it's kind of the same. So why not easy? Maybe some people like complicated. I don't know, but why not easy?
Yeah. Well, what that might have been also is it might have been the page for the link to my workshop on Halloween, which is, it could be that event page, which is why it was more detailed. Because on Halloween night, which is October 31st, I'm offering a 2-hour Zoom workshop on how to read tarot cards for yourself and others. And it's only $25. I saw a comment somebody made there. If you really feel you need to be there and you don't have that money, reach out to me and I'll make it happen. I don't want anybody who's supposed to be doing stuff with me to not do it just for lack of money. We'll figure out something else down the road, but just reach out to me, send me an email. Well, the more the merrier. I already have a couple people signed up, so it's definitely happening. So, come play and we'll figure it out. But all right. What I wanted to do, I pulled a few cards for today. So before we go through any questions anybody has for me. Oh, and by the way, guys that are listening, since I am in Mexico, I've noticed throughout the day, the Wi-Fi kind of gets good. It kind of gets wonky. So no disrespect to Mexico. It's just we're far away, right? And I'm in a hotel, and depending on how many million users are trying to access the same bandwidth, it can go up or down. So if I fade out or I'm lost, Inbaal's going to vamp and see what we can do until you get me back on. We may be in this blissful grace and never have an issue. Who knows? But just be prepared and don't flip out if, I check out for a little bit prematurely. It's not that I'm doing that on purpose. We may just be having Wi-Fi issues. So just be patient and understanding if that does happen. All right.
It's a
So
fun manifesting exercise for everybody to just sort of hold the space in a real physical way. I think out of all the different things that, like, you know, instant manifesting can affect, technology is one of the easiest ones. You can mess things up technologically really easily if you want to. You can also fix them up.
Yeah. So I picked 3 tarot cards for tonight. The first one was the Ace of Pentacles. And this is reminding us that to have a wonderful quality of richness in the quality of our life, we need to have balance in our money and toys and our financial responsibilities. We need to have it in our health. We need to have it in our relationships with other people. We need to have balance in our spirituality and our creative pursuits and our connection with something that's greater than self, that reminds us of our purpose and what our soul was meant to do. And time, the balance of work, rest, and play. So as long as you're paying attention to those 5 aspects, this card, the Ace of Pentacles, says you can have a richness and a wonderful nature in the quality of your life. And so it's worth working on. The next card that came up was the 2 of Rods, and it was reversed. Whenever a rod is reversed, it's a caution to us to make sure we're focusing on our intuition and not allowing our intellect or external, especially when it comes to making a decision. So in this case, the 2 of Rods is all about making decisions and using your intuition to know the right way to go. And so the caution here is don't overthink things. Don't overcomplicate things. Don't allow other people's input to derail you from something that you know is your own truth. And then the last card here is a 7 of Pentacles upside down, so more pentacles. And the 7 of Pentacles is basically our traveler, right? This is somebody that's going around and saying, look, if you really want to travel the world, if you want to be out there and doing things for other people, it's really important, again, to have that balance in your life. I would say, and I bet you, Inbaal, you would probably agree, but I'll ask your opinion on this as soon as I finish this sentence here, that in order to manifest anything you want, including more worldly travels or travels anywhere you want to go, you need to be in balance. Because if there's a part of you that's out of balance, it's almost like there's a hole in the dam and the energy leaks out there instead of channeling and going to that place that you focus and you want to manifest. What do you think there, Inbaal? Anything?
Yeah, you know what? I think both readings, so sort of seeing what's coming up and manifesting, affecting what's coming up, both need to kind of tread that line of effortless effort. And it's probably the hardest thing, the hardest needle to thread, that effortless effort where your focus has to be there, but not in a way that will crumple it up. And I think that comes, so that's such a whole topic for me, because I feel like that comes from a place of faith. Now, that can be so off-putting to some people, because a lot of people get to manifesting as kind of a shortcut to get their prayers answered without really having to connect with anything divine. One of those people is chatting to you right now. I am very atheist by nature. However, I have, as a pagan, a beautiful relationship with the gods and the goddesses. And when I teach people to manifest, for a lot of them, that is the one leap that I struggle to get them to take with me. And it makes me think, could this be me? Is it because it's my leap that was so hard that the people that reach out to me have the same struggle? Or is it something that's universal and that we live in a world that's really seen such disgusting things that faith is, a huge challenge? So sorry, so I kind of answered your question with a question.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with what you said there, and I'll add a little caveat because I teach a manifesting class as well. And one of the things that I have to make really clear to people is whether you are offering it as a prayer or sending it as an affirmation, you need to let it go. That's where the faith part comes. Because think of it as a hot air balloon that has that intention in it, and it's going to go up to the place wherever it plants the seeds in the universe for the actual manifestation to come down to the physical plane. Every time you repeat it, go on, it's like pulling a string right back down to you, checking, oh, wait a minute. Well, you're preventing it of getting to the place where it needs to go to actually begin that process of manifesting. Because it's like, how many times you're going to ask for it? If you truly believe, like even, let's make it a really simple example. You know, you have loving parents that will give you what you need, or you have a loving spouse or partner who, if you said to them, honey, would you please bring me a glass of water, you know, or bring me a bottle of beer from the fridge, or a glass of wine when you open one up, or whatever it is, pick a beverage of your choice. And you ask them to please bring you one, right? And you know you have a relationship with that person that as long as you know they heard you, they're going to be bringing that to you.
That fear will manifest via that person. Yeah.
Right. But if you keep saying, bring me the water, bring me the water, bring the water, bring the water, like they're going to be either pissed off or they're going to be like, what? I heard you already. Right?
Yeah.
You don't need to keep repeating that over and over and over again. So, yeah. So I think where faith comes, you know, even with a lot of the prayers, it's like, all right, if you know a prayer has been heard, you have that faith that it's out there. Then after this first supplication, anything that follows should be gratitude that you know it's on its way. Expressing gratitude. And that you can do over and over and over again. Thank you so much. I know it's on its way. Thank you so much. I already feel it coming. Thank you so much. I'm already seeing the signs of those blessings in my life right now. Right? That's a whole different thing. Right? That you can do all you want. Right? Right? But
you explain it in a way that's just so relatable and, you know, and sort of very of this world, so that it doesn't have to be beyond reach for literally anybody.
Oh, right. And that's, you know, it's a big part of any relationship we have with a loving person. And just even think of on the receiving end of a request. If there's somebody that you love with all your heart, that's so important to you, and you love that relationship and you love that life that person has with you, there's very few things that they could probably ask you for that you wouldn't go like, oh, sure. Especially if it's in your ability to grant that wish or to do that thing for them, you would be like, oh, absolutely. I'm happy to do that for you. And the more grateful they are for doing that, it makes you feel good about helping them to have it. It makes you more willing the next time, right? So it becomes this wonderful positive momentum that comes with, you make a request, you express gratitude. And now here's the important thing. You also are willing to give and be the person to pass it on to somebody else when you're the one that something is asked of. So it can't be this one way, I only receive and take, and I show gratitude, but you also have to be willing to share and let go and give to others when it's appropriate as well, right? We have to keep that flow going, because that's also a sign of faith. Because let's take it easy, like with just even something like as simple as I saw somebody asking about the class, right? I'm not hung up if I'm going to make a ton of money running this workshop. Personally, I don't care about the money. It's about getting the message out, sharing, having a good time, creating that interest, sharing the tools, generating curiosity in somebody else. That's why I priced it really low, because it's not about the money, right? It's about paying it forward. At this point in my life, it's about paying it forward. But we live in a culture that, money helps pay the bills. And I have electric bills and food bills and car bills and taxes and insurance like everybody else, right?
And the Wi-Fi, where would you be without the Wi-Fi?
And the Wi-Fi and my streaming services. Amen for that, right? Yeah. So
exactly.
We have to really cultivate that gratitude and have that flow and that willingness, be as willing to give as we are to receive in whatever we have, because we all have different gifts. We all have different things that we have, a stockpile. I have a friend of mine. She loves socks, but she likes mismatched socks. So on her 75th birthday, I went to like a whole bunch of different friends. It's like, give me one sock, and then was able to bring her a whole bag. It's like, happy birthday. She had, now she has an abundance, a whole drawer full of all the mismatched socks she could ever want. right? That was not a
Yeah.
hard thing to do. It was
It's
just,
not.
know what somebody wants or needs and make a tiny bit of effort, and we can help each other. We can bring joy to each other. We can answer the prayers that sometimes people don't even know they have, but we pay attention.
I think the gratitude inside it already includes the faith that by saying to the universe or the angels or whoever it is that you work with, by saying, I am thankful for all the stuff you're going to bring me, what it says is, do you know who's got 2 thumbs and believes in you? This girl. And I feel like that creates a bond. And again, that comes from like a full-fledged atheist to have like a really, I would say, unique way of observing it. But I also find the faith aspect of it so satisfying that I think, well, why would you leave it out? A, it works. B, it works. And C, it's also fun.
Yes, it's part of the equation, right? And how you define what that faith is, or what you, or who you have faith in, that's a personal choice. It may be how you were raised. It may be how you have come to experience the world around you. You know, and it's, and you know, what's the old saying? Why fix something that ain't broke, right? So if you found a process that really works for you, keep on doing that. If, on the other hand, you're struggling and you're like, gosh, I have such a hard time manifesting, or I have such a hard time getting through this, you know, what am I doing wrong? A lot of times it's like, well, just look at the patterns that you seem to be repeating that are getting you that same lack of results, and do something different. I know there's an old quote that's been misattributed to Einstein a gazillion times, and that's, you know, what's the definition of insanity? And it's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? That's the definition of it. He never said that. I don't know how it got attributed to him, but it's a great saying, you know. So if you need to think it's somebody important and wise, like Einstein said it, go for it, but he didn't. Somebody else did. Right. But that's part of what we need to look at. And that's where we can help each other. Truly, that's where really good friends, family members, life coaches, spiritual coaches, mentors, teachers, this is where you can say, you know, I'm too close to this. I can't see my own blind spot. What do I need here? What am I doing either wrong that's blocking it? Or what better thing could I be doing that could create this sense of flow and get me to the place I want to be that much more quickly, right?
Yeah. And with that in mind, we have a couple of questions. So what I'm going to do is actually jump into a message from our sponsor. I feel like my life has peaked in such a way that I'm saying something that is, you know, such a dream. So I'm going to pull up this slide that we have of our sponsor. As you can see, none of it is easy. I'm pulling the levers. I'm pushing the buttons. Oh, there we go. Now, it'll be a little bit rude because the only way I found to do this is to cover our faces a little bit. So here we go. This show is brought to you by Rest in Peace Paranormal Gear.
Well, there you go. I didn't even know we had a sponsor. So talk about going with the flow. It's like, well, you mentioned it, but I didn't know ahead of time. I'm like, hey,
yeah, that's it. You know it. So we've got a couple of fabulous questions. Very, very on topic. We've got a question from Tor who says, how does one keep with the light when they're in, let's say, dark environment?
Sure. So when let's look at it this way. We have to be the light. That's like the simple answer, right? So how do you keep the light? Well, what are the things that you personally find that helps to recharge your battery? So if you are the light in dark places, you need to plug into the universal outlet as much as possible to recharge your battery. So what does that for you? Is it music? Is it being in nature? Is it being with animals and playing with your cat or dog? Is it being with really good friends and playing games? Is it going for a walk or a jog? Is it eating your favorite ice cream or Brussels sprouts? I don't care. Whatever it is that really helps you feel really good. Is it taking a bubble bath, getting a massage? things that help to recharge your battery. Because if you are a light, you are shining that light. It can never be dark in whatever place you're at. Now, I understand about being in a dark environment. I had a client not that long ago who we were working on a session, and they said, I work in a liquor store. And she said, you know, the energy of a lot of the people that come in and out of there, especially later in the evening, is a little kind of creepy. And, you know, it's not a bright light place, and there's not a lot of windows, and everything's kind of boarded up. And I'm like, well, do you actually have to work there? Is there maybe another job that might suit you better? You know, maybe initially that was a great job to tide you over, but also being willing to make changes, right? So if the environment that you're in is becoming toxic or draining you so quickly that you can't recharge in time, then it might be worth making a decision and saying, hey, you know what? I need to make a shift here. So if you can't generate enough energy to shine your light so bright that it doesn't seem dark and creepy, then you need to make the decision to make a change. Same thing goes with a relationship, folks. And I know this is a really hard one for all of us, me included. I will confess, I've been in a few toxic relationships in my life. I'm not proud of that. And it's because I'm a people person. I was a people pleaser. I still am to some extent, but I have a little bit more discernment of who I'm putting my effort in. But it always made me happy to make other people happy. And what happened as a result is I allowed myself to be in situations that were way out of balance. And eventually they became a little toxic. And you're like, oh God, you know. And sometimes we just have to pray and allow the universe to kind of give us that shove and push and say, you know, because that might be the weird answer to a prayer, right? Okay, I need more light. I need to get out of this. I don't have the strength myself to make the change. And then the universe conspires on our behalf and gives us that push out of the nest. And we're like, what do you mean the shop closed, or the job just laid me off, or the person that I was in a toxic relationship with fell in love with somebody else and left me, or whatever, right? And you're like, at first you think it's a bad thing. And then afterwards you're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not in that toxic environment anymore. I have some choice now of where to go, who to spend my time with, making sure that I make better choices so that I can be stronger and I can shine my light more. And I can put myself enough of a priority that I can plug into that universal outlet we talked about and get that recharge that we need. Does that make sense? Anything you would like to add there?
No, that's really beautiful. Now, Tor is also a personal friend, so I don't think he would mind so much if I told you that the kind of list of things that you gave for ways that he might recharge were, I would say, an accurate order. They might be things that you say, you know, kind of general, but the ordering of it was exactly the things that do recharge him. So Tor says, thank you very much for answering my question. Very insightful. Really, the only thing I want to add to it, and also to you, Alethea, because you sounded so, you know, uneasy about sharing that, you know, that your history has not been an unblemished, road of perfection, is your circumstances, this is the Tor, your circumstances do not define you. You are a light. Alethea, your history does not define you. You are a light to everybody else. Your physical health does not define you. You are a light. The self-harm of the past does not define you. You are a light. The fact that you are a living soul in this world is so mind-blowing. It's so impossible that it is a gratitude of in its very existence. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of share that.
Thank you.
We've got a couple.
It's a great reminder.
Thank you. And I think in a way I sort of prance around feeling like people judge themselves so much more harshly than anybody else would judge them. And
oh, true. And you're totally right.
Right?
Our past does not define us. However, what we chose to experience in the past helps us to become more of who we could be and become more resilient. And because I had those sort of embarrassing, when I look back, I'm like, yeah, that was kind of ugly. But it makes me a better spiritual life coach today, where I can relate to people who are going through their own toxic muck. Because I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe it's not the same specific muck, but I know what it's like to be in a toxic muck, right? And how you finally, how you go from just barely surviving it to actually thriving in your life and choosing that thing is not, it's not meant to be a badge of honor that I wear and that's what defines me. No, it's a part of your history, but that doesn't need to be what you lead with. You get to choose, who are you in this moment?
Yeah.
You are the sum of all of the threads of everything that's happened in your life, that's woven the tapestry of the fabric of your being. You are that person. What colors do you want to show the world? What's appropriate to share in each moment, right? It's like, okay, you might share something totally different if you're in a support group for people who have been through the same kind of drama, trauma, toxic stuff that you have, but it's probably not appropriate to bring it up on a first date when you're speed dating, looking for your next partner. Probably not, right? So you have to kind of think of what's my context. Or if you're going on a job interview that has nothing at all to do with your love relationships in the past or things that have happened to you in the past, right? So there's a balance there too, right? Who do you share with? When do you share? How much do you share? But I do believe that anything that's happened to us, positive, negative, or in between, we agreed to on a soul level so that we could be the fullest expression of the creation that we were meant to be in this lifetime, with whatever tools, coping skills, resiliencies, experiences that we can share and motivate and help others across that same bridge that we crossed in order to get from that situation to where we wanted to be or where we are now, right? That's what I'm
absolutely thinking. So so we've got not exactly a question. Oh, sorry.
I do want to share a little, but before we take another question, I want to share, I feel like I want to share something from tonight. And again, for anyone new, A Portal to Potential. This is a book of channeled spiritual writings and communications that came through me over the last little bit. And as I was reading them, I found some of them very inspiring. And whenever I would share them with somebody else, they're like, wow, these are really profound, or this is kind of insightful, or wow, I need to ponder this a little bit. You should really share these with others. And so I wrote them together, compiled them together. The book is out on Amazon. It's $10. Again, I try to make things so reasonable that, the cost shouldn't be an inhibitor for anyone from getting it. And all of the proceeds from this book are going to the Monroe Institute Scholarship Fund, because I love the Monroe Institute, and it's a consciousness institute in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. And it uses science and technology and research in order to create the programs that helps their attendees and participants have these amazing experiences of expanded consciousness. And I just love them. I love the people. I love the heart space they hold. And it's literally a magical land like Avalon, with the energy and portals that open and close there all the time. So amazing things can happen when you're there. So one of the, I opened up, I said randomly, I just opened up to this page, and I said, I asked Spirit, what would be fun to share from the book? And it's some of these random thoughts that Spirit had shared. And one is when you think of love, LOVE, it was, let's make that an acronym: light, omnipresent, virtually everywhere. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fun. It reminded us that you are co-creators of the matrix. And then I got, life is about manifesting and creating while exploring who you are and what you are collectively capable of becoming. And that last part about what we're collectively able to accomplish and become, that's why I harp so much on each of these episodes about shine your light, be a positive force for good in the world, not just do random acts of kindness, but really dedicate yourself to improving yourself, but also to leaving a legacy of positively impacting the lives of everybody that you meet or touch or that you go to. As you think, so you are, literally, right? We know this. Just because something is important, it does not mean it has to be hard. That's an interesting lesson to learn, right? Because you were like, oh, if this is really important, I got to really like focus on it. Well, this is important work I feel like we're doing, but I feel like this is joyful. It doesn't feel hard to me. Oh, well, that's because Inbaal has the hard part of this, which is the all the technical side of it, where I'm doing the easy part, which is just sharing, but she's doing all the hard stuff. We are here to help, and this is from Spirit that I'm channeling. Call upon us and allow the process of transformation and creation to unfold. Remember to be joyful and live with love and gratitude always. And so to me, I thought, those are messages that we can't hear enough, right? Just reminding us that sense of togetherness, love, intentionality. What do we pay attention to? Where is our intention, right? I think that's part of manifesting as well, right? If we're not really guarding our thoughts, if our thoughts are, I want this, I think this, I think that, and we're scattered and we're all over the place, it's really hard to make momentum. It's like there's this old Buddhist, not saying so much as story of, there was a Zen master who had a student, and he asked him to go dig a hole in the back to dig a well to get water to fill up their teapots so they could have tea. And so the student goes out and he digs about 3 feet down, and he doesn't hit water, and he gets frustrated. So he moves over and he picks another spot, digs down about 3 feet. Next thing you know, there's about a dozen holes in the yard, and the Zen master comes out and he looks and sees this yard full of holes, and he's like, what in the world? And he's like, well, I kept trying to get water here, and I got down 3 feet and there wasn't any there, so I thought I'd try another spot. And the master looks at him, and he takes the shovel back, and he goes to the original hole, and he digs about 1 foot more, so 4 feet deep, and there's the well, there's the water. And he said, if you had only persevered and dug a little deeper in one spot, you would have had what you were looking for, instead of digging a dozen holes not deep enough, and you're still hot and tired and thirsty. And I remember hearing that story years and years ago. And because I'm somebody that's a little bit of a, as a part Gemini and part I am in the world, I'm interested in a lot of things. And so I like to dabble, I like to explore. But when I heard that story, I said, okay, I'll give myself permission to dabble and explore, but I'm going to do deep dives in each of those things. I'm going to immerse myself in them so I can feel the richness of it, so I can get to the water. I may not dig a 20-foot well that is able to provide water to the city for a month, right? But I'll get down to that 4 foot and whatever that is, and get that nourishment or get that good feeling. And so that's something else, with a lot of these metaphysical tools, the healing tools, the different types of methodologies that are out there, explore for sure, but give it a deep enough dive that you can fully taste it, experience it, immerse yourself in it. Because if you just said, I'll give it 5 minutes and then go on to the next, it's like you maybe didn't give it enough time for you to really see, is this something you would like or would be good at, because you didn't quite invest enough into it, right? But if you get down deep enough and you're like, this is just not for me, sure, next thing is totally fine. But you want to make sure you put enough effort in. And when it comes to manifesting, it's better, and I'll be interested to hear your opinion on this too, Inbaal. In my opinion, it's better to focus on one main thing you want to manifest at a time, and really get a clear vision of that, what it feels like, what it'll be like once it has manifested. See what it's like after you've already been there and doing that, and have that gratitude for, yes, it's in my life, before you start saying the rest of here's my wish list of 20 things, right? Do the most important ones, but put your intellectual capital, your emotional capital, your spiritual capital, focus it all to that one place and get that result, get that well, deep enough to get that water that you want. And then after your thirst has been quenched, move on to the next project, the next thing. That's what I would recommend. But how about you, Inbaal? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think, again, complicated, because if there is a goal that you're going for, I think it's so important to be like single-minded, to be like a dog with a bone and nothing else exists. That's certainly the way that I operate. So when I've got something that needs achieving, or that needs achieving by a specific time, this is it. So I needed to do a lot of manifesting for pregnancies. A lot. Nothing else was going on during those years. I mean, I still had, had a good career and everything, but the career was, reliant on all the previous manifesting from before. And it was just about sort of getting a baby in my tummy. And then, once the babies are around, then there's so much more that needs to focus. But at the same time, I like to have either a new moon or a full moon ritual where I commune with my entire laundry list, so that but that laundry list that's kind of connected with the previous thing that we say, with the previous thing that we talked about, because that laundry list also includes all the gratitude. So I go with, thank you guys so much for sending my husband to me, and thank you guys so much for putting a roof over my head, and thank you guys so much for giving me 4 strong children, and thank you for, and this is like the catch, and thank you for all the lovely income that you're going to bring me, and thank you for the good connections that are on their way. So is it a trickery? Is it? So I think there's room for the rainbow of wishes, but it's in a different way to that dog with the bone manifesting.
Right. Thanks for clarifying that, because I'm also a big believer in a vision board, where you will take like a piece of poster paper or some flip chart paper, and whether you write the words or you cut out the pictures, or I know in this age it's like, do people even still have magazines, right? You cut out the pictures, or you draw the pictures.
Let me show you a vision board, how it's done nowadays.
Okay, on the phone. Yeah. So what's important there is you can put all of the things that you would like to manifest in your life, and you put them out there. And the whole point of the vision board is you stick that someplace where you're going to see it every day, right? And it's like your subconscious starts to go, oh, this is what we want. This is what we're trying to attract. This is what we want to bring into our life. Right. Perfect. Oh, show that a little closer to the camera. Let people see that more. That's cool. So I have the old-fashioned one. When I'm back at the house the next time, I'll hold it up, and Inbaal has the digital version, which is cool, way cool. So it's really important, to have the big picture of these are all the things that I want, right? So that we know, all of the whole team is on alert, is knowing what you want. And so all of the benevolent beings that work with us and our own higher self, conscious self, subconscious self can be coherent and in alignment and saying, yep, we know what the big picture is. We know this is what we want in the life. That doesn't change from what I said earlier of when you're working on one really important specific thing that you want to stay focused on. You don't want to jump around from part there. Okay. Oh my God, my spirit tonight is it's kind of raunchy, guys, but imagine you had multiple partners and you're trying to achieve bliss with each of those partners. Well, if you only like dabbled a few minutes here, a few minutes here, a few minutes there, you might get some motion going, but you may not reach that bliss, right? You got to like stay with that one person and that one partner until they're like, yay, hallelujah. you got what we wanted. If you want, you can change to another partner, right? It's the weirdest thing that popped in my mind because I've never been part of a multiple partner thing, but somebody out there must be because it popped into my head. So there you go. But you can even do something like that, right? You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't jump from thing to thing to thing or person to person to person because you don't bring it to fruition, to climax, to whatever that goal is of that joyful bliss is that you want to accomplish. I know, guys, you're laughing. I know you're twisted and you love it.
Everybody's loving it.
It's probably your guide.
That was a good example because even for those of us that have always been monogamous, it's easy to imagine. It's
right.
easy it wasn't as big of a leap for literally anyone. From the way that we're all laughing, it shows it wasn't that big of a leap for literally anybody. And such a good explanation. But I think it really applies to everything that you're serious about. If you go back to your school years and when you're studying for an exam, you wouldn't do like a page from each notebook, a page from each subject.
Right. Or learning a new language, right? So before coming here to Mexico for 15 minutes a day, I got on the Babbel app and I worked on learning some of the key phrases. I did that. Well, if I had done 15 minutes a day in German and then French and then Spanish and then Japanese and then Portuguese and then Chinese and you name it, I'd be here and still not know how to say the basic phrases, right? But I knew I had an intention in mind and a goal in mind that I wanted to be maybe not fluent, but at least be able to communicate reasonably well by the time I got here. And I achieved that. So now next will probably be Japanese because I have this really strong feeling I'm going to get to Japan sometime next year. And so I'm like, okay, I want to be ready to be polite and know, what are the cultural phrases? What are the important cultural norms that I need to be aware of? Because I think, and here's part of the key, folks, about manifesting. If you prepare yourself and are ready for it, it makes the manifesting that much easier for spirit to do. So if we do our part, we roll up our sleeves and say, I really want this trip to happen. And spirit sees us spending 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, a half hour a day, whatever it is, 5 minutes a day, learning, devoting ourselves, bettering ourselves so that we'll be ready for that thing when it manifests. They're like, oh, she's serious about that. He's serious about that. Okay. Yep. She's doing her part. Let's do our part and pull the strings from the cosmic ocean that need to be pulled in order to help this happen a little bit smoother, faster, better, however. Right?
Absolutely. No, I think if you're ready. So one of my sort of big stories is when my second child didn't get into the same primary school as my first child. Cue a lot of manifesting, managed to move him, which is something that is supposed to be impossible because of some legislation that we've got in the UK. Impossible.
Love it.
And then they did the same thing with my fourth child. Now, that took a lot longer because some legislation and stuff. But so I would have had to switch him school. It was really important for me to then buy his PE bag unlabeled so that the school switch won't have to involve the extra step of throwing away one bag and buying another bag. So the unlabeled bag could be transferred from school to school, and all the uniform without the crest on it. If you Google UK school uniform, but don't do it when you're drinking something because you'll spill it all over. It's the same school uniform that you have like in Harry Potter and stuff. But I thought this is happening. There's no way that this is not happening. So I might as well be prepared so that I don't have to spend twice. And I feel like that is such an important component of manifesting because you're treating it as if, as if it's already done. It's decided, it's written, it's happening. And, And when you know that it's happening and spirit know it's happening, then the impossible becomes possible very quickly.
Agreed. Now, that's really cool. So, y'all, I know that if Grizzly was here, he'd be reminding you to like and click subscribe and share with friends and all that. I don't even know all the social media stuff that, you do. So make sure people know about it. I don't know. Do you know if he's still doing his 9 o'clock show tonight? I know he usually plugs his line.
I'm pretty sure I saw the next show already teed up in the studio and one after that. Before we sign off, we actually had a message from Laura Sue, who was asking from everyone. She says, I was wondering if I might ask for a bit of a favor of those of you here tonight. If it feels right to you, could you please send light my way? I'm in the hospital with a brain clot. Thank you to all.
For sure.
And we've got, I think, the salmon of wisdom on the end of it. So if we could all just link our energy together and focus on Laurie Sue's good health, comfort, happiness, support by others, being blessed with a wonderful medical team around her, and maybe some miracles. And let's
imagine all those metachlorians from all our Star Wars world going in there, all those quantum field atoms going in and doing their job, you know, whether it's what's the name of the little metallic things that used to be on Star Wars? They would get in the bloodstream and they would go places, and nanobots. Imagine that these are energetic nanobots going in there to just eat up any of that clot, or eat up anything that's not appropriate, right? Be playful, just like you have a Pac-Man to go eat cancer. We can go have any energetic device that works. Send that in there to go seek it out and find it and let it nourish whatever that little thing is and get the heck out of her system, right? And anyone else who is listening to this right now, we send you blessings. We send you light. We know there are still quite a few people that are struggling as a result of all the natural disasters, as well as the man-made disasters and the relationship disasters. And like we are either going through it ourselves, or we know somebody who's going through challenges right now. So it's so important for us to send that light, especially we start with ourselves. We go to our immediate friends and family. We go to our community, and we send it out to the entire world, right? Anybody who's listening to this, feel the love of all your brothers and sisters. Open up to receive the love and feel gratitude in your heart, knowing that the healing is already happening, knowing that the blessings that you need are on their way to you. Know and believe and trust that things will get better. See yourself on the other side of whatever challenge you're facing, health or otherwise. See yourself on the other side of it, fully functional, healed, whole, happy, functioning, doing the things that you want and need to do in your life. We need to direct our energy, and where our thoughts go, our energy flows. And so we need to make sure we're blessing others, receiving blessings, expressing gratitude, and being there for each other in whatever way possible. I thank you guys for tuning in. I thank you for all sustaining and manifesting a solid Wi-Fi signal. God bless for all this whole hour. It's a small miracle. And please be good to yourselves. Be good to those you love. Be good to the strangers and those you don't love. Just be kind. Be that light that you are meant to be, because you know what? If you focus on being the best you can be, and you focus on giving and being of service and sharing your light and love, you will find peace in your life. There will be blessings. You will receive an equal to measure and more to what you give. So be in that flow as much as you're able to. And when you do need help, ask for it. Call out for help. We're here for each other. That's what makes life so much more interesting and fun, right? So do the best you can. Forgive yourself when you're not as good as you want to be. Be unconditionally loving, starting with yourself, and then spread that out to everybody else you run into in your life. Thanks. And thanks, Inbaal, so much for co-hosting tonight. This was so fun. This was, guys, you don't know this, but this was a surprise to me. So I was like, oh, you're getting better and better looking every week here. So I'm so happy to be co-hosting with you. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining us. Go to aletheajacob.com if you want to check out the Halloween workshop and the
or
book.
for reading or whatever. Reach out
for all your Alethea needs. And we will see you around. No, but nobody really knows exactly when.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much for spending this lovely time with us. We enjoyed having you. Make sure that you follow us so that you can see when we come online again. Bye, everyone.
Y'all. All right. Bye-bye.
Coming to a YouTube channel near you.